Hey team, and welcome to week 4 of the 8-week life hack. We will be talking this week all about acting with courage. This week is really the first week. No, this week is the week that makes the entire 8-week life hack possible. Next week we talk about performance, which is all well and good, but is absolutely useless if you don't have the courage to act. Over the previous weeks, we've spoken about values and who you really want to be. We've spoken about goals, and we've spoken about what you want, and we've spoken about the plan to get there and some of the daily tasks you need to do to get there, which are all great things and great practical tools and fundamental tools to have, but it is absolutely useless if you don't have the courage to act. If you don't have the ability to commit to what you want and have the courage to act. People who achieve great things in the world have the commitment to their purpose and the courage to act regardless. And that's what this week is all about. By the end of this week, it's expected that you'll have an idea or the skills to be able to act with courage and commit to what you truly want. But before we get too far into it, let's go over some of the things that we've already done during the 8-week life hack, just so we can reintroduce them. And of course, it's a convenient way to remind ourselves of what we've covered and how it all kind of fits together. So in the introduction week, we went through the purpose of the 8-week life hack is to create the you that never gives up. It is to create the you that pursues your ultimate dreams and pursues your ultimate goals through the 6-pillar process. And then we've got this, of course, we've got this skeletal structure of the program, which really clearly outlines what we're here doing. In the middle, we've got you and your values. The overarching aim of the program is health and growth. And then, of course, you've got your 4 different areas, which caters to the day-to-day things you need to be doing to achieve what you want to achieve: refueling, relationships, fitness, and of course, vocation as well. So that's, I won't go too far into it. You're in week 4 now. You know what that looks like. Then we went through your core values. What are they? By now, you should have them clear and concise, and you should be repeating them to yourself on the daily. Really developed who you want to be. Not only who you are today, who you want to be at the end of the program, but who you really want to be. What is your life about? When people will reflect on what you do with your life and who you were, what will they say? And we went through that idea of 1 habit, 1 decision, 1 conversation, which really just gets you into the flow of what the 8-week life hack is about. Who do you want to be? And then take action on that person. Then we went into week 1, which was all about what you want. Big, bold, unrealistic, impossible dreams. And we went through discussing those goals, and you went through the authentic you process and all that kind of thing. We came up with clear and concise goals and put them in a timeline. The idea that your big dream is right at the end, that just gives you the direction. And then your signposts or your goals are the steps along the way to achieving that. And they're those things where you get there and you do them, you tick them off, you think, great, what's next? And then you realign, readjust, reset your sail and go again. And of course, we went through some daily tasks and the importance of daily habits. Those are the things you have to do on the daily, all day, every day. What's next? What's next? Get that done so that you can pursue those crazy, outlandish, ultimate, most ambitious you, most fulfilled you. Week 2, we went through visualization, of course, both physical and mental. Do you still picture your perfect day? You should be. Do you wake up in the morning and think through how things are going to play out during the day, during the week, during the month? Do you have something physical on your bathroom mirror that says, this is who you're going to be? Remember, we went through those goals and we wrote down what result we wanted or what the affirmation was for us to get there. That was all done in week 2. Of course, we went through the signpost planning a little bit further. We went into SMART goals, the specific, measurable, assignable, realistic, time-related goals. And then we each and every one of us decided to design the perfect day and the perfect week. I went through that process of showing you what I do with as far as blocking out the days and weeks, and hopefully you adopted that or have got your own way of assigning and coming up with that perfect week. That was all in week 2. And then last week, week 3, we went through habits and behavior. More specifically, we went through who and how you do what you do. Words with Oz is all about the who, the what, and the how. And this week, week 3 was all about combining that who and how. What attitude do you have? And how your behaviors and acting on your habits in a disciplined, routine way is going to get you to what you want to achieve. And then, of course, we covered a little bit about the importance of repetition, really forming those habits. 21 days, 28 days. You should be 7 days into a new habit by now. Only 2 weeks left till it's a habit, only 3 weeks left until it's ingrained heavily. Should be well on the way. That was one of the activities. We went through disciplined routine, the idea of what you do and how you do it every single day matters. That's what matters. Not what you say you'll do or what you do once a month. It's not the things that you do once a year. It's not the fact that you send your tax off to the accountant once a year. It's the fact that you put aside money for your to pay your tax bill, to receive your tax bill, or to see the accountant. It's the fact that you brush your teeth every day. It's the fact that you go to the gym every day. They're the things that matters. What you do and how you do it every single day. And then we did that activity of the words we use, indicating what kind of attitude and what kind of person you are. Then last of all, we did qualitative standards, which was the shoulds and musts. And you all thought about the idea that the level of your standards. So if who you are is a design of your habits, it's the standard of those habits that indicates the quality of your life. Let me repeat that. Your habits indicate who you are, what you do, how you act, what your routines are. But it's the standard of those habits that indicate the quality of your life. That was week 3. And of course, it fits into the 6 webinars or the 6 pillar process like so. And we're moving into just over halfway now of the 6 webinars. Of course, depending on when you've taken your break will depend on whether or not you're halfway through the program. And this week, we're moving into that next phase of the action taking, the next phase of the attitude, the next phase of the change that's most important. Courage, fear, resistance, self-sabotage, and commitment. Really getting into the nitty-gritty now, really getting into the things that matter. This week is probably the most important in the program with regard to personal growth. And so I'd like to move into that space with the thought around how important courage, resistance, self-sabotage, and commitment are to personal growth. And that's what we're talking about. It's imperative to all the greatest people that they have their commitment to their cause and courage as a cornerstone. So that's what you need to implement in your life. If you want to be one of these great people that people admire, that achieves whatever they have set out as their ultimate goal, you need to have commitment and you need to have courage. That's not even, you can't question that. They are 2 things that are fundamental in someone that achieves those things. And the self-sabotage is an efficiency or an effectiveness or a performance angle. Each and every one of us has a personal resistance, unconscious personal resistance that we need to get through. And that's what I'm talking about there, where I'm talking about self-sabotage. This week, you'll be expected to learn the purpose of commitment, some techniques in courageousness or acting with courage, an understanding of the unhelpful behaviors we all have. Not to say we all have the same, but that we all have some. And then we'll do some interruption and some reframing of our own personal resistances. You'll learn all of those things today in the webinar. Techniques, we'll go through a few activities and a few more in-depth definitions of the things I'm talking about there. Like I said earlier, or a few minutes ago, this week is probably the most important of the program in pursuit of personal growth. And what I mean by that is, well, when someone searches for personal growth, they might go get a self-help book or something in personal development, right? Yes? None of it really matters if you don't act. And being able to act comes from, or on the hard things, comes from having the courage to act. And that's what we're talking about there. That's what we're talking about today. The growth journey. Action is what's needed. And when it matters most, when things are the hardest, that's where you get the most personal growth. So that's what I'm talking about today. Yes, you can sign up to all these webinars. You can sign up to all these things that are going to teach you personal development. But actually taking action and having an awareness of yourself and the things that don't work of yourself, and then taking action to fix them or to make them better or to all continuously improve, that's personal growth. And that's why this week is so important. With the awareness of oneself, the courage to truly commit to the cause, you can achieve whatever it is you set out to achieve with this 8-week life hack. And we'll begin by talking on commitment. And first of all, I'll define commitment. And then I'm going to encourage you all to commit to yourselves. Commit something. Actually come up with the commitment, something that truly means what you want it to mean in terms of being in this course or in terms of achieving what you want to achieve. And then you're going to write it down, and then you're going to sign it, and you're going to make a promise to yourself. So we'll start off with commitment. What is it? Commitment is an all-in concept. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that the use of the word commitment should be a closely guarded thing. Most people falsely say, yeah, I'm committed. And it's not their fault. They just haven't considered the true meaning of what commitment is. When you say you're committed, you need to be all in. Most people, when they say they're committed, are just interested. They're just, yeah, they want to get involved. But when you're committed, there's no exit. When you're committed, there's nothing more important than what you're committed to. When you're committed, you've made a decision to achieve something, or you'll die trying. That's what commitment is. True commitment is that deep. So don't just say you're committed to something don't just say you're committed to something when you are not. Make sure you are truly committed. And I want you to keep that in mind when you come up with your commitment today. Because with a commitment, you can make the impossible or the improbable possible. It's the key ingredient to making our unrealistic goals realistic. It's what we all need to be able to achieve these outrageous things that we want to achieve. Not only that, it's what we all need for the most important things in our life. If you have a child, you need to be committed to the child. If you have a marriage, you need to be committed to the marriage. If you have a job that you love and it means something to do that for the world, you need to be committed to it. Nelson Mandela was a human rights activist and a political figure in South Africa. He had a dream of a democratic and free society for the Republic of South Africa. And during the pursuit of that dream, he was sentenced to death for treason. I won't go too far into that. Obviously, I don't actually know it that well, other than to say some things that I might get misquoted on this webinar. But during the trial for treason, the following was a statement that he made to the court. And he said, I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination, and I've cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if need be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die. That's how committed he was to a democratic and free society. How committed are you to the things that you need in your life? What's your dream, and how committed to it are you? What is such a powerful force in your life that you are prepared to die for it? That's what we're talking about today. That's what I want your commitment to be. And one of the best parts of commitment is the fact that you can start dropping off things that don't matter so much. Once you truly understand what it is that you are absolutely committed to, then that's the most important thing. That's what we're talking about with the 8-week life hack. Let's work it out. Let's break it down. Let's turn it into the simple form. What's most important to you? What do you truly want to achieve? Commit to that. Get that done. Let's stop playing around with all these external things that don't matter anymore, that don't matter so much. Focus. Extreme determination and focus on a commitment. That's what the 8-week life hack is about. What are you truly committed to? What do you want to get done? And the thing about commitment is that once you make the commitment, then it becomes easier. Once you can establish what it is you truly want, what's your dream? What are you prepared to die for? What's your democratic and free society? And once you can focus your energy on taking action towards that dream, no matter how far-fetched or fanciful it is, you will find that the world begins to open up for you. And the world begins to back you. And people begin to back you. I'm sure during the first few weeks of this 8-week life hack, when you've spoken about your dreams, or perhaps you felt too scared to tell anyone you know your dreams, but when you've been thinking about your dreams and you haven't felt like someone's backing you up, as you move along and you start to pursue that dream, you'll see things that happen that help you. You'll see people that start to say, hey, what are you doing? I can see you doing that. Let's get after it. Let me help you. How can I help you? And you'll start to see avenues to be able to achieve your dreams. You'll start to see people that call you and say, I hear you doing this. Let me help you with that. It's like most entrepreneurs. When they first start up a business, the people that love them the most, their family and friends, want them to be safe. So they tell them, oh, it's a bit scary doing that. They want them to be secure. So they tell them, make sure you have a backup plan. And then they get 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 years down the journey, and suddenly everyone's on board and talks about the days back at the start when they were helping them. And the entrepreneur sits there and she thinks, I don't remember that. I don't remember you helping. But everyone gets on board and everyone is suddenly there to back you. And that's what commitment does. Commitment means there's no option out and you're all in. And there's a famous quote by a gentleman named William Murray that I'll read to you now, but I want you to think about this as you think about your commitment, because you are probably still a little bit hesitant in that large dream or that huge goal that you want to commit to. And I'm here to convince you and to urge you and to inspire you to go after it anyway. The world needs people chasing those things. The world needs people committed to those things that are unrealistic, that are outrageous. And William Murray, what he said was, until one is committed, there is a hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never have otherwise occurred. A whole stream of events issue from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance which no man could have dreamt would come his way. I have learned a deep respect for one of Gautier's quotes. Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has a genius, a power, and a magic in it. Be committed. Get involved. Whatever your dream is, write it down, sign your name to it, commit to it, own it. True ownership of your dream is the only way we're going to get you there. And that's what I want you to find today with your commitment. So what is your dream? This is the business end of the program. Your daily actions, your decisions, and your thoughts should now all be heavily influenced by one, some, or all of the concepts and activities we've done. But they should be mostly influenced by what you want to achieve. What are you, from this moment onward, going to be fully committed to achieving? You need to make that decision this week. And you need to write it down. And you need to sign your name to it. Own what it is that you want to achieve. And then as you pursue achieving it, be ready to face and overcome your resistances and your fears. And to do that, we act with courage. Courage is the ability to act in pursuit of your goal, regardless of your fears. Courage is acting regardless of your feelings, acting even when it's the last thing you want to do, but you know you must because you're committed to an outcome. To be living your most ambitious and fulfilled life, to be living as who you want to be at the end of the 8-week life hack, you need to be living in a state of courageousness. In all areas and for all your deepest desires, act with adamant, relentless, obsessive disregard to your feelings of fear. Feel them, sure, face them, fine, but act anyway. And to be able to do that, you need to build courage. And there's many different forms of building courage, and I'll go over you a couple of them now. I urge you that if the ones that I run through on the webinar don't work, go out and find your own. Implement them. Use them. See what works. See what resonates well with you. I'll focus on 3 specific techniques, and I'll give you one concept that I love. But if they don't work for you, you need to find your own. And when we're talking about these fears, let me just qualify and say that I'm not talking about your deep-seated, mentally changing fears. I am obviously on a webinar. I'm not with you live. I'm not with you face-to-face. I can't be there to control them all. I'm talking about the resistances or the fears that hold you back from achieving what you want to achieve. If you think they run deeper than that, then perhaps deeper help or perhaps more medical help is what you need. More professional help is what you need. I'm talking about the things that stop you from achieving your ultimate goal. Not health-based, not psychologically based, but those unconscious resistances that stop you from doing something. Those irrational fears that have stopped you from achieving what you want to achieve. Now, the first concept I want to run through is something that I learned from a retired Navy SEAL commander when I worked with him in the San Diego. And what he talks about is this idea of each and every one of us has 2 wolves. One, the fear wolf, and one, the courage wolf. And the concept's quite straightforward. When faced with something fearful, when faced with a situation where you need to act with courage, we know we need to build the inner courage, so focus on suffocating the inner fear wolf and feeding the inner courage wolf. Simply put, learn to reduce the fear and learn to build the courage. And some of the techniques that I use for building courage are, as you can see on this screen. 1, create an obligation. 2, have your true internal why. You should all have them by now, have them obvious. Or the third one, simple, keep moving forward. Left foot, right foot, repeat. So the first one, creating an obligation. How do we do that? Find a way to be obliged so that you can no longer back out. Create the obligation. Have someone rely on you. Back yourself enough to rely on yourself. Maybe make a promise to someone or set a deadline. Give yourself something you can't break. Or better yet, tell the world of your intention. And all of us can do that nowadays, can't we, with social media? Can say, I'm going to do this, and then bang, every day someone's going to be checking in with you to see, have you done it? Are you doing it? Are you pursuing what you said you would? So create that reason to act that's more powerful than the fear that stops you. Create an obligation to be courageous. The second one's pretty straightforward. Have your true internal why. That reason that aligns with who you want to be. You've all spent so much time on that now. Intro week, first week, your dreams, your goals, your values, your core values. Who do you want to be? So put that into practice and use it to break through your fears. Setting your why is sometimes more difficult than one would think. But lucky for those of us that have gone through the first 3 weeks and now the 4th week of this program, you are able to derive your why from them. Because sometimes it's hard to go, okay, I'm fearful of this scenario, but how does it relate to my long-term why? But we can draw it all the way back, especially with the use of those signposts. So your why should be something that goes to the core of who you are, one of your values perhaps, or perhaps it just means that if you achieve this, then you know you're on your way to that next thing to be able to pursue and to achieve what you ultimately want to get. And on many occasions, people think externally for their why. Stop thinking about things outside and start relying on what's inside. You see, people want to achieve something like a certain level of work so they can get the higher wage. They want to buy a better house or be admired by their peers. Achieving something for the benefit of others. But often this is coming down to judgment. And when pursuing that goal gets too hard, it's easy to give up in a fearful scenario because it's not really relying on yourself. So when you pursue that one thing, you need the driving force to be much stronger, and doing it for someone else is not going to be enough. Instead, we need to focus on what it is about the achievement that's going to fulfill us. Bring it back to that core. Who do you want to be? If you want to be more confident in yourself and be more secure in your financial situation, then sure, do better at work and get a higher wage. So when you're faced with a fearful scenario and you want to quit, your true internal why won't let you. It's much more likely that you'll stick to your pursuit and act regardless of your fears when you can concentrate on the result that aligns with who you want to be. When you concentrate on the result that aligns with your true internal why. So let's think about what your true internal why could be. Think about the values that you'd set down many weeks ago and you've been re-looking at and rejigging and redesigning along the way of this 8-week life hack. What's the fear that you want to break? And what is it about your why that's going to have you act regardless? Perhaps you're afraid of picking up the phone and making sales. But if you don't, will you survive? If you don't, will you be able to grow your business or your workplace into the large, dominant force that you'd like it to be? Let's bring it back to the core. Perhaps you want to inspire others. And at the core of who you want to be is to inspire. Therefore, bring it back to that. My true internal why is to inspire people. Therefore, I'm going to make this call. Because if I get this call and I make 10 of them and I get 2 sales, then I have the ability to inspire those 2 people. Maybe you have a family of people that love McDonald's. But you know that feeding your family with McDonald's is not a healthy way forward. And so you want to be the example for your family as to why they need to be healthy. Your true internal why is to be the example for your family. And so your true internal why is to be healthy for them. Your true internal why is to inspire them. So when you get to that situation where your fear or your resistance says, grab some Maccas on the way home, your true internal why can kick in, stop you from doing it because you want to be an example for your family more than you want to be the slack person that picks up takeaway. What's your true internal why, and how is it going to help you act regardless of your fear? And then the last technique that I like to use. This technique is great for those situations where all hell's breaking loose and you just don't know how you're going to get through it. We find these situations, these fearful situations, are often put on us, sometimes by choice, but often they're forced upon us. And they feel like they're going to last forever. Tragic circumstances, really painful, hard scenarios, those situations that keep you up at night. Sometimes it's truly a daily, sometimes even an hourly battle to decide to acknowledge the fear and act regardless. And in those situations, left foot, right foot, repeat. Like any journey, that's all it takes. A journey is not found by leaping ahead to the end. You don't climb the greatest mountain by jumping to the top. You look in front of you, you put your left foot in front of your right foot, and then you repeat. So in these situations, just break it down to the simplest form. What's that next step I need to do? What's not the next large step, but what's that next immediate step? If you need to make a sales phone call, the first step is to pick up the phone. Second step is to dial in the number. Third step is to wait for the person to answer. Fourth step is to read your script. Break it down to the simple forms and decide what that next immediate task is to do, and then complete it. Did you get it done? Yes? Great. Celebrate. What's next? Go again. Did you get it done? No? Oh, well, what can you do next time? What's next? Get it done. Go again. Left foot, right foot, repeat. An uncompromisable way to get through any fearful situation. And I ask of you all right now, how are you going to implement what we've discussed? What are you going to do? What are you afraid of? What do you need to face regardless of your fear? Decide it now. In terms of what you want to achieve in your life, what is the fear? What is the one barrier? What is the one thing? What is the 10 things? What are the 10 things that are holding you back? I want you to pick one. I'd prefer it was the biggest. I want you to write it down. And I need you to be specific in what you write down about why it makes you so fearful, or what it is you need to actually do to get through it. Be specific. And then decide how you're going to tackle it. What technique are you going to use? Are you going to just put one foot in front of another until you get through it? Are you going to rely on that internal drive to get it done? Or perhaps you're going to set an obligation. Use one of the techniques that I've discussed with you today. Or of course, as I said, go out and find your own. But come up with a way to get through those fears. And then repeat it for 7 days. Or until it's done. You are able to overcome any fear, any resistance, any irrational resistance that is holding you back from what you want to achieve, what you actually want to be, from exactly who you want to be. You can overcome. That's how powerful you are. 7 days, maybe longer, maybe shorter. Write it down and get it done. And keep moving. Because you can be exactly who you want to be. You've just got to be willing to do whatever it takes. That's the difference between those that achieve great things and those that don't. They do whatever it takes. They sleep less. They eat less. They eat more. They sleep more. They train harder. They train longer. They educate themselves better. They speak better. They make more phone calls. They do whatever it takes. A lot of people like to argue that you can't have whatever you want. And sure, if you include time in the scenario, some things are impossible. But all those dreams that each and every one of you have come up with for what you want to achieve are able for you to achieve them. You can have exactly what it is you want to pursue. Your destiny is controlled by you. How are you going to act? And what are you going to do? And are you willing to do whatever it takes? Okay, so we've spoken about courage and we've spoken about commitment and this idea to get through those things. Now I'm going to go really more refined on a bit of performance. Move into a discussion on resistances, more particularly ensuring our unconscious brain isn't blocking us from what we want. So we're going to cover self-sabotage and we're going to discuss more about being consciously aware of what resistances are stopping us from achieving what we want to achieve. Or another word, we're going to discuss self-sabotage. Resistance, fears, limiting behaviors, patterns, self-sabotage. No matter the name, we all have them and we can all break through them. The activity that I'm going to get you to run through in a moment, if done correctly, can change your life because it can break down the unconscious patterns that stop you from having what you want. And the most dominant barrier that stops us from living our ultimate dream or our most fulfilled life or our most ambitious life is self-made. And as you progress through these 8 weeks, you will be pushed into uncomfortable situations. You will have to push yourself into things you don't want to discuss or do. And so you'll experience these unconscious patterns and behaviors and sabotage, and it'll start to show up in all aspects of your life. If you've been doing the 8-week life hack activities, as we've discussed, you would have noticed them already, where you suddenly were trying to train more, but your body said, no, it's too early, it's too dark, don't get out of bed. If you were trying to eat better, but your body said, oh, go on, have a block of chocolate. If you were trying to save more money, but you were walking down the street and saw a fancy pair of shoes, so decided to buy them. All of these unconscious patterns and resistances and poor behavior that stops us from achieving what we want to achieve are self-made. So this activity is an ability to act and get through those resistances. Even if you don't entirely understand the concept, trust the process, because performing these steps will move you closer to what you ultimately want. And recognition of your barriers and creating that new thought process or new behaviors to combat them will shift you from where you are to who you truly want to be and to having what you truly desire. So start off with the first step is to become aware. Be conscious of your current thoughts. Even right now, stop and think, what am I thinking about what Michael's saying? Am I agreeing with him? Am I disagreeing? Am I not even paying attention? And then try and work out why. You know, this is the situation to try and work out what the behaviors are or what emotions you're feeling. What are you feeling right now? What emotion are you currently in? Awareness, the first step. It's time to wake up. It's time to get uncomfortable. It's time to stop living the lemming life or in the matrix, to steal some ideas from other people who have made much more money from those concepts before I. That's what we're talking about there. What thoughts are you having right now and how do those thoughts make you feel in any situation? And what's your body language? What's your posture? What's your physical state? Perhaps you're sitting at home on the couch watching TV with a family and then one of your partners says, husband or wife turns to you and says, Oh, I saw blah, blah, blah was off the credit card this week. What's your immediate reaction? Do you open and honest and tell them about it? Or do you cringe and think and try and come up with a way not to discuss it? Well, how's your tone of voice? What are the words you use to take a concept from last week? What do you mentally see and what do you think about? These are all the things I want you to do and come up with a concept of why and how you're aware. Year or 2 years in, falls over and goes back to doing what they were doing? Are you the type of person that starts a new role, does really well at it for 18 months, then has a fight with their boss and has to go get a new job? If that's the case, why? 1, become aware of the patterning behavior. 2, why? What are your beliefs? What's making that happen to you? What did you say? What did you think? What did you see? What were the triggers? What was your perception of the situation? And why did it make you feel that way? An accountability and a why to why you act that way. When you get those things together, it kind of sounds like this. I am feeling angry with my boss because they told me that I should do one thing and I think it's smarter to do something else, which ultimately makes me feel like I'm not wanted here. There you go. There's your awareness of the emotion, your awareness of the why, and your awareness of the deep, dark feeling or the beliefs that you've got in there. Don't be too concerned if you can't identify that straight away. Repeat the webinar, repeat the process until you can get the habit up. But it's a key habit to get. And then after you've been accountable to your why, let's work out what you actually want. If that is the case, but what you actually want is to get a raise, then you need to stop with that emotion of anger. You need to stop with the disagreeing with the boss, and you need to stop with the not feeling wanted. And you need to work out what you do need. You need to feel like part of a team, agree with the boss, or provide a possible alternative in a more friendly way to make you feel like you're part of the team and that you're a respected part of the team. And once you get there, then perhaps you get the new position. So you need to work out what you actually desire. Who do you actually want to be? Or what does that person truly want? Be aware of the situation you're in or the fear that you're in. Be accountable to why you feel that way. And then work out what it is you actually want. And then when you've worked out what it is you actually want, make sure your perception is true. Interrupt and reframe the awareness and the accountable side. Is my idea actually better than my boss's, or do I just think it's actually better? Did I spend money on the credit card that I shouldn't have, or was it a necessity? Interrupt your thought patterns and reframe them to what you actually want as a result. What do you actually desire? Remember, the way you perceive the world is the way that you perceive the world. Someone else might see the exact same thing completely differently, and therefore you can see the same thing from a different perception. And that's what we're talking about here. 1, an awareness of why you're fearful of the situation or why you act the way you do. 2, accountable to why you feel that way. Work it out. 3, what do you actually want? 4, perception. Change the perception from why you feel one way, why you feel that awareness of one way, to a perception of what you actually want. What is the result you want? So interrupt and reframe so you can get that result. Let's go back to the salesman example that doesn't want to make the phone calls because he doesn't want to be embarrassed. Have an awareness of the fact that you will feel embarrassed. Why will you feel embarrassed? Because I hate getting told no. Could be the accountability part. So then you go to your actual desire. What do you want? Well, you want to make the sales so you can make more money so that you can provide for your family. Great. Perceive. Perception. Interrupt and reframe. I don't want to make this phone call. Interrupt. Can't wait to make this phone call because when I make this phone call, I'll make a sale, then I'll make the money, then I will provide for the family. Bang, there it is. Awareness, accountability, actual desire, perception. And what's next? Act. Make the call. Clarify your target and take the leap. Take action for what you want. If this situation was whatever I desired it to be, what would I do and what would it look like? How can I create an experience here to get more of what I want? To get the raise that I want with this boss, what communication would be more effective to get what I want? And then start speaking that way. For example, I see your point there, boss. And I think that you could get that result quite well with what you're talking about. I was thinking perhaps this angle might get us there faster. What do you think? Should I put that into implementation now? What do you actually desire? To get the recognition that you are good at your job so you can get a raise or get a new position? Reframe it, see it from a different perspective, see it from the perspective of a team member, and then take action. Actually say something that's going to get you in. Actually do it. I hope those steps make sense up until this point. The next thing is a review. Because once you do it once, it's not enough. You need to review what you've done, make sure it worked, and then repeat the process. Is what you did aligned with who you want to be? And then implement the repetition, or as we discussed last week, repeat it enough so that you create the habit. And that looks something like this. I need to, whatever you need to achieve. I would be however you feel because you perceive a situation in what way, and would feel whatever you'd feel, and would get whatever you would get. So now I know that I feel this way because of so and so. I think about reframing in whatever situation you reframe it to be, which allows you to whatever you want to achieve and be whoever you want to be. I'll give you an example how I would write that from the salesman perspective. The salesman is aware that he hates making phone calls and he's not getting enough sales. So what does he need to do? They need to make more sales. Next line, let's look at the awareness and accountability. I would be scared to make sales because I hate being rejected and would feel like a loser and then get sad. So now I know that I might be able to make sales and think about how that could happen for me, which allows me, so now I know that that's a false reality, and a person at the end of the phone is just as likely to say yes as they are to say no, and think about those things, which allow me to pick up the phone and dial and make the sales and get the money in and be the person that provides for my family. I hope that example makes sense. Review and repetition. And once you've done it once, check in. Did it work? Did you get it right? Repeat it. Create the habit. I need to learn how to surf. I'd be scared of getting in the ocean because of sharks and would feel like they might get me. So now I know that the likelihood of a shark attack is so minimal, and think about how much fun I'm going to have learning to surf. It allows me to jump in with my surfboard and be free at the back of the waves with my friends. Who do you want to be? Review and repeat those things until you break through those resistances. The true great aspects or pinnacle aspects of all great people are commitment and courage. You never hear of someone who has achieved a great thing and then someone says, oh man, they didn't have any courage, or oh, they weren't very committed to what they wanted. No. When you want to achieve something, then commitment and courage must be universal constants in who you are. So be committed and be courageous towards what you want to achieve. In terms of personal growth, those are two imperative points to be made, and it's a big week in the 8-week life hack. Additional resources, of course, weekly review, daily checklist, gratitude and intention. There is a reason I talk about these in every webinar. They are important. The weekly review is for yourself. You can submit it to me if you'd like, but it's just an opportunity for yourself to write down what's working, what's not, and how you should go better. The daily checklist. Put your tasks on paper. Put your tasks in a list, both your personal fulfillment task and your progressive tasks. If by this point in week 4 you feel like you're not achieving anything, I can guarantee you have not set the daily checklist and you're not giving yourself a score for the things you should be getting done. Gratitude, just a common theme among all great people, and daily intention, making sure you're aligned with who you want to be every single day. Those additional resources are available on the website. Make sure you download them, make sure you use them. Honestly, 8 weeks of your life, 56 days, not even a seventh of the year. Get these things done during it, make them a habit, and you'll drastically improve your life and start living more fulfilled and more ambitiously. Today we discussed your commitment to yourself, who you want to be. Write it down, sign it, whether that's by the end of this 8 weeks, who you want to be in the future, or one specific thing you want to get done. Make sure you make the promise to yourself to get it done, because breaking a promise to yourself is the worst promise to break. We spoke about acting with courage, the idea that you should act with your true internal why, or if it's extremely hard, just put one foot in front of the other and repeat. Or perhaps you should create an obligation to achieve what you want to achieve. And then we've gone through the self-sabotage, breaking through those unconscious resistances you aren't even aware of yet. That's where you'll find some dramatic change if you can pick up that activity. Become more aware of why you do what you do. Awareness, accountability, what's your why? Actual desire, what do you truly want? Perception, interrupt and reframe. Take action, review and repeat. That's what we've gone through today. What I do, the 8-week life hack is about who you want to be, what that person wants, and then how you get it. And obviously, we've moved into the how today. We've covered previously who, and we have full clarity of the what, but today was very much about the how. But who you are will dictate how much action you take on that how. Who you want to be will dictate whether or not you get the things done for what you want. So think about that. Who do you want to be? How are you going to get it? And what do you want to get? The actions you've taken this week is that you've learned the strength and power in commitment. you have come up with a commitment. You've looked at the different techniques to act with courage. You've decided on one specific fear you're going to face, and you've come up with a way to face it and act regardless of it. And you've heard about a way to interrupt and reframe the personal resistances holding you back from achieving what you want to achieve. It's been a big week, but it is the most important week as far as personal growth goes. Remember, personal growth, personal development are all well and good to want to get done, to intend to get done, but action is a must. And courage is the only thing that's going to allow you to act, especially when these books, webinars, information sessions get hard and uncomfortable. You need courage to act, and you need a tight commitment to get your result. How you see the world, how you see your circumstance, and how you see your future is all up to you. To perform and undoubtedly to act in a way that breaks through your false perceptions, you are going to need to act with courage. So reframe the way you see the world so that you can perform at your best. That's it for this week. That's it for this webinar. Make sure you read Viktor Frankl's quote just there, and remember that your thoughts are just that. They're yours, and you can change them to achieve whatever you want to achieve. Thanks for your time. If you need anything from me, make sure you email me. There's the email. You know who I am, and I look forward to speaking again with you at the next webinar next week, all about performing in your peak.